Hi guys! This is one of my first videos, so bear with me. Today we're going to be talking about Ford, specifically Mazda today, but Ford's programmable modules. This is a subject that I've done a lot of research on. I don't really see a lot of information on some of these things, so I decided that I would go ahead and make a quick video as one of my first videos here on how to do a programmable module installation in a Ford, or in this case Mazda, vehicle. So first of all, what is a programmable module? So I'll just speak about Ford in this case because they're all Ford parts. A programmable module is basically one of the computers in your car, your powertrain control, the PCM, transmission control, your anti-lock braking system, the ABS module. These are all the brains or the computers of the car that control the certain systems and aspects respectively. Today specifically we're going to be talking about this Mazda's restraint control module, or the RCM, which is a little bit different than the other ones, but they all pretty much have the same effect. Again, today we're talking about the RCM, or the restraint control module, which controls the SRS, the supplemental restraint system in this Mazda, the seat belt pretensioners, the seat weight sensors, and of course the airbags. Basically there are two ways to program a module. There is the way that the dealerships will do it, which is the download, the exhale-inhale method is what they call it. And then there's using the as-built data. So if you are planning on replacing a module in your Ford or your Mazda or your Mercury, and you know that it's bad and you know that you're going to do that, I'm going to talk about the steps that you can take with your scanner to ensure that all of the data is properly transferred over. Even when you put a blank new module into your car, it needs to be programmed to the specifications of that vehicle. There's something called a VID, or a vehicle identification block, in each module that matches not only identifying factors like the VIN to the module, but certain other preferences. The ABS is really heavy on that because it takes into account things like your axle size, your tire size, the way that you drive, the traction stability, and all that stuff. So the module will not work if you do not configure it properly. So in the download method, the way that the dealerships will do it is they'll use their scan tool before the old module is even out of the car. They use the scan tool, hook it up through the OBD2, and when they start a session and identify the vehicle by its VIN, the scan tool automatically pulls all the data from the old module into the scanner. And you keep that session, you either keep the session open until you're done, or if you have to wait for the part, you can hold the session and it will hold all of the data from the old module while you're putting the new one in. And as soon as you connect the new one, it will give you prompts to restore that original data onto the new module. So that's why they call it the inhale-exhale method, which is great, for them. But here's our problem here today. So this is a car from one of my fleet accounts, and they buy these cars at auction. So I have no vehicle history. I don't know what happened to this car. I don't know what the previous owner may have, replaced, taken out, attempted to fix themselves, I have an airbag code that I have now traced down to the module, but this module doesn't have any data on it. So I can talk about that separately. Again, the restraint control module is different. It stores crash event data, and there's a lot of read-write going on, so you might not be able to configure a RCM without deleting that crash data, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to send it in. I'm going to send in this module to get cleared out, but before I did that, I figured I would show this example of how to configure using as-built data, because this module is bad anyways. Lastly, I just want to talk about some considerations when you are doing this module configuration. I already said that you absolutely need to start the session and get the data from the old module before you take it out of the car. it doesn't work once it's out of the car. So it needs to still be in the car when you hook up your scanner and identify the vehicle. Secondly, you want to make sure that you are identifying using the auto scan feature of your scanner. If you do the manual entry, it's not going to pull all of that VIN specific data into the scanner. Make sure that your battery voltage is good. Go ahead and get a charger if you think maybe for a second it might die, especially if you have to disconnect the battery to do whatever you're doing, as is in my case. Also, make sure you research the specifications of your scanner or your software, because not everything can do it. I'm gonna be using the Autel MaxiSys MS960, the Bluetooth. So this it doesn't have all the capabilities of the flashing version of this. I don't know why I can't remember what it's called right now. But it can do this at least. But I have seen online that a lot of people have had success doing these programmable module installations using something like ForeScan. I wouldn't recommend using the phone version of it, but I've never used ForeScan, so maybe y'all can tell me if that will work for it. What happens if the module that you are installing does not have as-built data? It could have been cleared, it could have been incorrectly installed. There's a second option, and it's a manual configuration, and you're going to be entering in what is called as-built data. For Ford, I believe the website is motorcraftservice.com. For Mazda, it was Mazda Service Info. And it'll bring you to a different web page that will prompt you to put in the VIN number of the vehicle you're looking for. Make sure you get the VIN completely right. Double check it, triple check it, whatever. And, because this as-built data is the data that was programmed into these modules when that car left the factory. So using as-built data from a car that is similar, the same year, make, and model, maybe even some of the same features, is not going to work. So go to the website, type in the VIN, find the as-built data, and you should get something that looks like this. I don't know if we'd see. Yeah, like this. So you'll see up here, this is for the PCM. We're not going to be messing with any of that, but there are these addresses on this side, like that. And then there are instructions, and they're in a hexadecimal format. The 3 lines with 4 characters, alphanumeric characters in it. Sometimes they're shorter than that. Not all of them are labeled. Like when you go onto Ford, the address might not be labeled on there. That tells you, there we go. That tells you which one you're using. So look all that up. Sometimes they are labeled. The one that I'm using will be the address under BCE in this column, which stands for Body Climate Electric, I believe. And we're going to be using address line 737-01-01, which I know to be the restraint control module. But again, sometimes there's multiples, and you might want to double check if your scan tool isn't going to prompt you about which address line you're entering. So I guess without further ado, okay, I'm going to try to be as still as I can, but here is my scanner. The connector is plugged into the OBD2 port, and we're going to go ahead and turn the key to the on position, and as you can see, the airbag light comes on as it does its self-check, and it starts flashing. So that's honestly a video for its own for another time. But we're going to open up the MaxiSys program and hit diagnostics. We are going to hit VIN and auto detect, which will automatically scan for this vehicle's VIN. My battery voltage is a little low, but it'll be okay for now. Hit OK. Make sure that it is the right vehicle. It might ask you for some extra questions. This does have the dynamic stability control. your main menu. I'm not going to show you the codes because that's, pretty straightforward. But what we're going to do is, now remember, this is before, you want to do everything that I just did before you take the old module out of the car. So now we have the sessions saved, you can see, or we have it open, and until I exit this session, this will be the active session on the scanner, unless the scanner dies or something like that. So it has, at this point, inhaled the data from the old module into it, although this particular module doesn't have any, which I will show you. You'll go to Programming. Okay, so you'll have two, sometimes three, depending on the car, but two options here usually. So Programmable module installation, which is what we're going to be doing, which is when you take out a module and replace it with another one, or programmable parameters, which are certain elements of the modules that you can change. For example, if this car were equipped with the passenger airbag deactivation switch, but you didn't want that featured, then this is where you would go to change that. But for today, we're going to hit Program Module Installation. Here's all of the modules that we are able to program with our scanner. The PCM, the SJB as they call it now, that's the multi-information display, instrument cluster, etc. But we're going to hit RCM for restraint control module. And it will start prompting you. Make sure you follow the prompts. Do not hit the tick mark or the OK until you've done what the prompt says. So go ahead, turn ignition off. Install a new module. So this is where you'll go ahead, the battery obviously needs to be disconnected to work with the SRS system in any car. So you can go ahead and disconnect the battery at this point. The scanner itself, as long as it has battery, is saving the session, or you can just go ahead and hit save, the little save button, and that will save the session for you to reopen up at another time in case you have to wait for your part. But let's say, like, okay, we went and replaced our module and batteries reconnected and all that. So then we'll hit OK, set the switch to on. Alright, then I got this message. So configuration data could not be transferred from the original module. So it will tell you that it needs manual entry of the configuration data, or the as-built data, as I'm calling it. You may or may not get this screen, depending on the way that you went about this installation. But for today's purposes, we'll hit OK. And then it will come up with a little dialog box where you can enter in these instructions that I showed you earlier, and my scanner gives you the address that it's asking for. So again, we're looking at 7370101. There's only one line of it. That's the RCM. So we're going to go ahead and type in, well, I already have mine here, but you would type in exactly what the instructions are. Hit OK. And then it asks you for the VIN. Again, very important that you get exactly the right VIN typed in there. Double check, triple check, whatever. Hit OK. It'll ask you to verify. And then it will say configuration complete. So you'll hit OK. It'll have you cycle the key one more time, and this forces the RCM system to do a self-check, which it does every time you start the car. You can turn it back on. And hopefully that solves your configuration problems. You can go ahead and do whatever calibrations you need to do. Just go and clear the codes that you might have and check to see if that solves your problem. So one thing I wanted to point out that I saw during my diagnosis, finding out that it was indeed this module and not any other part of the system. Be careful when you are diagnosing based off of codes alone. So when this car came in, it pulled, I think it was 12 DTCs on our scanner from all the different modules. I had some from the instrument cluster, the body control module, or the SJB in here, of course the RCM, and a couple other lost communication codes. So if you see those U codes, lost communication, the universal DTCs, it'll be the U with the 5 digits, lost communication with whatever module, and you see a bunch of those across the board from all different systems, don't automatically assume that it is the module that is bad. In this case, again, I don't have vehicle history. I think that the battery had died or was out for a very long time because it had lost communication with a bunch of modules and had nonsensical data sent to the PCM, which is pretty indicative that there wasn't enough voltage. But after I cleared all of those codes, this is the only one that I have keep coming back, and it is the this is the B2477 code, which is a make-specific code. For Mazda and Fords, it means module configuration failed. So I've been trying to configure this module. That's why I believe it has the crash data on it. But I figured that if assuming that the module you're replacing doesn't have stored crash data, then this method will work for you. Okay, well, that's pretty much it. Whenever the new module comes in and I am reprogramming it for real, I might make another video in case there's something, wrong with that. But in the meantime, thank you for watching, and I hope to be uploading videos of some more obscure problems that I come across in work, since I touch all different kinds of cars. So if you liked this, then hit like and subscribe, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments and I would be happy to help you. Thanks! Bye!